Hello, and welcome to a Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness video, where today we will see our two contestants, Nidoking and Nidoqueen, duke it out for superiority in this doubles-focused game. Now, I think that Nidoking has a clear advantage, because in most single Pokemon runs you want better damage rather than better defense, but in doubles you are taking a lot of attacks, so maybe Nidoqueen's higher defenses will bring it victory in this battle. So let's go on to our first contestant, which is Nidoking, a poison ground type with 81 HP, 92 attack, 77 defense, 85 special attack, 75 special defense, and 85 speed, and getting a huge variety of moves. Normal, fighting, poison, ground, ice, fire, electric, and with its attacking stats being very similar, it means that it can actually run either the physical or special side of attacks, so that's quite nice. And as you might see, I have crossed out the bottom one, and that's because I guess this game actually uses the Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald learn sets, so no Mega Horn, but that's honestly alright. Anyway, our contestant has a serious nature, which does nothing. It's a neutral nature, so it's not really going to impact anything. And it has the Poison Point ability, meaning that any contact moves that hit me have a chance to poison the foe. So that could be quite helpful sometimes. And these are the 4 moves it gets according to Bulbapedia by level 10. Peck, Focus Energy, Double Kick, and Poison Sting. So some pretty decent type coverage here just for the start of the game. But anyway, let's go ahead and get right into it. And by get right into it, I mean it completely blew through the first area of the game with relative ease. And we are now at the Cypher base, where I always show off at least one of the Power Rangers. In this case, I choose to fight Red, because even though there's a chance for me getting burnt, I do more damage to his Dark type than any other Pokemon here. I'm able to take him down on the first attempt. And at level 23, I get access to the move Thrash, which is kind of risky, because it has 90 base power, which is really good for this point in the game. But the problem is that after 2 or 3 turns, I will be confused. So it's a bit of a gamble using it. Anyway, we go into the first fight of the game against Lovrina. She leads with a Love Disc and a Beautifly, and I decide to set up Focus Energy here on the first turn, because I think if I can get crits, I can guarantee one-shot a lot of Pokemon. And as you can see there, it would have been a 2-shot had I not gotten the crit there. I go for Peck here. No crit, Roselia survives, so unfortunately it will set up Leech Seed on me. So I'm going to be taking quite a bit of damage, and even if I take it out here, the Leech Seed will just transfer to her next Pokemon, which is a Shadow Delcatty. This thing has the potential to do a lot of damage, so I want to take it down as quick as possible. Double Kick should do the most amount of damage, but I don't get a crit, and it doesn't go down in a single hit, and I lose. So this is where I decided to start using Thrash at the end of the fight, and that's because I want to be able to take down the Roselia in a single hit, and even though it's not going to one-shot the Delcatty, it's still going to do a ton of damage. And as long as I don't get Leech Seeded, I should be able to survive at least a couple of my own confused hits, or a couple of attacks from either of the Pokemon still on the field. And one thing to note also is that Thrash doesn't allow me to actually pick a Pokemon to attack, so it's just kind of random which one it chooses. And with that, I beat Lovrina on the 4th attempt. Honestly, not too bad. And moving on to our second challenger, it is Nidoqueen, the Poison Ground type, with 90 HP, 82 attack, 87 defense, 75 special attack, 85 special defense, and 76 speed, and gets most of the same moves, except it doesn't get Thrash, it gets Body Slam, which is way better, I think anyway, and for some reason it also gets the move Aerial Ace. I don't know why that's the one move that's different, but oh well. Anyway, I decided to use the exact same Eevee for both of these Pokemon, and that was because I wanted to see them play very similarly, just to see who's actually better. So same nature, the abilities are shared between the two, and the only difference here is that instead of getting Peck and Focus Energy, Nidoqueen gets Scratch and Tail Whip, which I think is worse, but it might end up being a little better. I don't know yet. Anyway, we completely destroyed the early game, just as Nidoking did. Only difference is that I actually lost this fight once because I got burnt, and I decided just to skip it, so this is actually Nidoqueen's first loss here, which is a little unfortunate, but it happens. Anyway, we move on into the building, and this is where we learn that having Peck is kind of nice, because I'm stuck in this battle with Duskull, and the only move I have to hit it is Poison Sting, and it does very little damage, because it's resisted. And of course, it could just spam Nightshade like it has been doing, and take me down. Luckily, it decided to start using Foresight here, otherwise I could have lost. But this is definitely something to note until I get a better move, which I won't until after this area. Because my next move is Body Slam, which still can't hit ghosts, but at least it does a lot of damage and is way better than Scratch. Anyway, at the end of the area, we run into Lovrina, who leads with her Love Disc and Beautifly as before. Body Slam isn't enough to take down the Love Disc, but it gets paralyzed, so that's good. And I decide to just go ahead and take it down with Poison Sting. I think I was saving on PP. Out comes Gust. I use Body Slam into Roselia, which actually is a one-shot, so that's nice. I level up. Out comes Delcatty. And luckily, one of the moves we share is Double Kick, so I'll be able to do a lot of damage to it. Not quite a one-shot. And as you can see here, this is the first attempt, and because I have better defenses, I'm actually surviving these attacks a little better. And to be fair, I actually had a move that could take down Roselia in a single hit. But still, we beat her first attempt. Now, moving on back to Nidoking, we run into Mirror B for the first time. Hello, Mirror B. Good to see you. And of course, after that, I go and pick up my two favorite TMs, Hidden Power and Protect. I'm going to teach Hidden Power right away, but I'm going to learn very quickly. It's not that great, because it's Hidden Power fighting. I already have Double Kick, so I decided to teach Body Slam over it, and we move on into the next boss fight. So, this is Snaddle. He leads with a Quagsire and a Lantern. I go for Body Slam. It's not quite a one-shot on the Quagsire. I get a crit there, but unfortunate. I would have rather had that on the Lantern. Out comes Lunatone. And the water guns are actually doing quite a bit of damage to me. I go for Double Kick, which is about a two-shot. Another water gun. Fruity Pebbles rain down. I'm able to take down the Lunatone. And then out comes Cast Form. Now, I do think this is going to be a one-shot, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to survive much further. So I go for Body Slam into Lantern just to see how much damage I do, and unfortunately it's not enough, and I go down. So I decide to do just a little bit of training to hopefully one-shot the Lantern, or just be able to survive attacks better. So with that, I then descended into a bit of madness here. So I was getting really close to victory, over and over and over again, and that signaled to me that I was on the right course to winning. If I just kept getting one more level, or another attempt. And what I found is that I had spent about 20 minutes just doing fights over and over again, making no progress. And I knew of a solution to it, but I just couldn't see doing Mount Battle Area 2 for 5 minutes in my mind. I don't know why, but eventually I decided to get Water Pulse. A big mistake on my end, but tunnel vision does that sometimes, especially when it just feels like the fight is solved. You just need a little bit of luck. Anyway, at level 48, I do actually one-shot the Lantern with Body Slam, which is actually really good. And Water Pulse should be a one-shot on Lunatone, which it is. And with that, my biggest two problems have been solved, because as long as I don't get to low health, the Quagsire won't actually use Ice Punch until it's used up all of the Rock Tombs to lower my speed to the max. And then out comes the Metang, and just a couple double kicks should take it down. I get a crit there, but I think it still would have been 2 anyway. The Fruity Pebbles take it down, and it's just Quagsire left, and I defeat him on attempt number 8. Anyway, on the SS Libra, I go ahead and teach Flamethrower over Peck, because Peck is really kind of bad. And we move on to the next fight. Now, usually I would teach Protect here, but because I'm a ground type, Electrode can't actually use Spark to paralyze me, so I don't even bother teaching Protect. And the Flamethrower takes it down in a single hit. Out comes Hyper Beam, which actually gets a crit, which is a little unfortunate, but I should be fine. Flamethrower takes down Vileplume, out comes Whiscash, I go for Body Slam, and it's not quite a one-shot. Hyper Beam does a little bit, and Rock Tomb misses, that's nice, but I don't think it would have mattered. Body Slam takes it down, and out comes Skarmory, and this is why I taught Flamethrower at this point, because I know it can take down the Skarmory. And then Nuzleaf is all that's left, and I know a Flamethrower can take it down. So that's a first try. At the top of the pyramid, I go get the move Earthquake, which I'm going to teach right away over Water Pulse, because most of the things that Water Pulse hits, Earthquake also hits. And we move on to Gorgon. I use Double Kick on the Celio because it is part Ice type. And out comes Slowking. I use Earthquake, which one-shots Alaron, and one-shots the Slowking. Out comes Ursaring, and out comes Primeape, his first Shadow Pokemon. Another Earthquake should take them both down. And out comes his final Pokemon, which is Hypno. And I'm pretty sure an Earthquake should take it down, which it does, and that's another first try attempt. Now, going back a bit, over to Nidoqueen again, I go pick up the two moves, but as you know, it's still hidden power fighting. And with my gain knowledge, I decide to go pick up the move Water Pulse right off the bat, because I think Nidoqueen's going to need it a bit more than Nidoking did, because at least Nidoking was close to two-shotting. I don't think Nidoqueen will be. So I teach Water Pulse right away over Hidden Power, and we go into the first fight. Body Slam, still a two-shot, that's good. Rock Tomb, lower my speed. Body Slam takes down the Quagsire, and then out comes Lunatone. Water Gun comes out, doing a bit of damage. Water Pulse is going to be a two-shot. Okay, well that's not great, but that's alright. Water Pulse again to take it down. Out comes Cast Form. This thing should be a one-shot, but unfortunately I'm getting pretty low on health now. And yes, it's a one-shot. And then out comes Tang, who I don't get to see because I get taken down. And here's the thing, I thought that teaching Water Pulse would be the solution I was looking for, and that it would actually just fix this fight. This is now attempt number 6, and I'm quite a few levels higher. And that's because I think that Snaddle, in general, is just kind of a hard boss for these Pokemon. At least at this point in the game, before they can get a lot of TMs. And of course, Nidoqueen is doing a little bit better than Nidoking, because I didn't sit there throwing attempts away for no real reason, but it's certainly closer than I would have expected. At least when I was going into the Nidoqueen, because I did it second. So, anyway, Matang goes down after 2, Rock Tomb comes out, lowers my speed, Body Slam, and one more Rock Tomb, and I'm able to take it down. Not before it gets an Ice Punch off, though. Had I been frozen, though, the poison might have saved me. On the SS Libra, I go and teach Flamethrower, just as I did for Nidoking, but I'm going to teach it over Poison Sting. And we move on, and oh, hello, Obligatory Mirror B. It's good to see you. Again. Anyway, I decided to actually teach Protect here. Not because I definitely need it, but because I would rather have the defensive Pokemon be able to heal a little bit more health. Anyway, Flamethrower doesn't take down the Electrode in a single hit. That's a big difference. Hyper Beam does not really any damage, though. Another Flamethrower takes it down. Out comes Vileplume, who should be a one-shot. And it used Sleep Powder. And yes, it is a one-shot, goes down. Out comes Whiscash, who I suspect is going to be a two-shot. But luckily we can definitely take a hit from it, whatever it is. Rock Tomb does almost nothing and just lowers speed, which isn't really applicable in this fight because everything else is slower. Out comes Skarmory, which a Flamethrower should one-shot, I would think. Which it does, and down to the Nuzleaf again, where our Flamethrower finishes off. First try. At the top of the pyramid, I also teach Earthquake to Nidoqueen, and I replace Double Kick because it's not nearly as useful anymore. And I go into the next fight, where I'm just going to spam Earthquake. So Earthquake takes down Celio, out comes Slowking, Earthquake takes down Laron, and the Slowking, and the Slowking. Out comes Ursaring and Primeape. and I use Earthquake again, takes down the Ursaring, and takes down the Primeape, and level up. Hypno comes out, and one more Earthquake should do it. And that's Gorgon. So now they have merged together. We are now at the same part, and we move on with Nidoking. So let's see how they do in the final area against each other. Our first boss is a rematch against Lavrina. She leads with a Gorbis and a Gardevoir. And being male in this fight is an objective advantage, because Gorbis is the only female that can use Attract. So I can kind of ignore the Roselia in this fight. Farfetch'd goes down, Altaria comes out, Leech Seed. It's going to do damage, but really not that much, and it's not like the Roselia can really hurt me anyway. And after 2 body slams, I'm able to take down the Altaria, and basically any move I have right now could take down the Roselia. So that's Lavrina on the first attempt. So not too bad. Anyway, at the top of the mountain, we run into Snaddle, leads with Quagsire and a Metang, and I go for Earthquake, take down the Metang, and take down the Quagsire. Out comes Scizor and Solrock. Now Solrock is a bit of a threat because it's going to set up Shadow Sky, so I'm hoping I can take it down in a single hit, but not quite. Fruity Pebbles rain down, and one more double kick should take down the Solrock, which it does. Out comes Castform, and I'm just going to use Earthquake this turn to take down both the Scizor and the Castform, which it does. Scizor goes down, Castform goes down, and now the biggest threat comes out, which is Shadow Starmie. This thing is really fast and can do a lot of damage. I go for Earthquake, but luckily I'm faster, and I one-shot her. So, that's Snaddle down first attempt. Moving right along to Ardos, who might actually cause a bit of problem, but I don't think it's going to be too bad of a fight. And that's because this Kingdra here is going to use Hydro Pump, which will do a lot of damage, so I need to take it down immediately. Out comes Heracross. Swellow uses Shadow Break, doing quite a bit of damage, but not really too bad. I'd go for Body Slam into the Swellow, because the Swellow could use Shadow Half, doing a lot of damage to me. And the Heracross is just going to use Rock Tomb on the first turn. Fruity Pebbles do a bit of damage, and I go for Earthquake, but unfortunately Electabuzz is actually faster than me, having my health. So I am able to take them both down, but now I'm quite low on health, and I don't actually have Protect to heal up any. And the Shadow Storm is going to keep me at my current health. Earthquake doesn't one-shot, and I get one-shot by the Snorlax. Okay, well with that I decide to actually teach Protect. And I get rid of Double Kick, because honestly, don't really need it anymore. Anyway, we move on to the second attempt here. I go for Body Slam just as before, take down the Alakazam. And out comes Kingdra. Shadow Sky comes out, which is not very good, but it's fine. I go for Earthquake, take down the Kingdra just as before as well. Out comes Heracross. Shadow Half comes out this turn, so Swellow can't act next turn, so I may as well take down the Heracross now. So I decide to do just that. I should have used Flamethrower, but oh well. Earthquake does a good enough job. And then I decide to Protect this turn, and Swellow actually goes for Shadow Half again, and then the Electabuzz goes for Shadow Half. So they are incredibly weak now, so I decide to take down the bird. And out comes Snorlax, and I can take down the Electabuzz with an Earthquake now, but I decide to Protect a turn just to get a little bit more health. 132 might be able to survive a Shadow End, and it hits, and does about half of my health. And I take down Ardos on the second attempt. Now I decide to teach Ice Beam over Body Slam here, because I think it's going to be more useful in the future than Body Slam will be. And I accidentally forgot to hit record on Gorgon. My bad. What you need to know is I used Earthquake. So anyway, I'm going to continue using Earthquake in this fight. And yeah, so basically you didn't miss anything, it's just a lot of Earthquakes. We'll see it again in the Nidoqueen section. Anyway, we move on to Eldis, and this was the main reason I taught Ice Beam, is because he has 4 Pokemon that are weak to Ice. So I take down the Manectric right off the bat with Earthquake. Out comes his Shadow Salamence. This thing could do a lot of damage to me, so I'm hoping one Ice Beam will take it down, which it does. and then out comes Flygon. Now this thing is a bit of a pain because if it survives, it's going to use Dragon Breath, which has a chance to paralyze. And for some reason, I accidentally hit Earthquake there. Whoops. Anyway, I reset again by using Protect, and I go for Ice Beam to actually finish it off. And then comes out his next Shadow Pokemon, which is a Shadow Marowak, holding the Thick Club item, which doubles his attack stat, so if it hits, it's going to be doing a ton of damage. So I'm hoping one Ice Beam will actually finish it off, which it does. And then out comes Lapras. Now this will always set up Shadow Sky on the first turn, but I messed up and used Protect here. I should have went for the attack on this turn just to get some damage in when I could. But now I'm going to be taking hits from Lapras, from Shadow Storm, which is doing about a fifth. So there is a small chance I could lose here if I get crit. And the Ninjask is now going for Dig, which is super effective. I'm surprised it didn't start with that, but anyway, the Lapras goes down. And a Flamethrower should be enough to take down the Ninjask. It protects for one turn, but is only halting the inevitable. It goes for Dig, and one last turn, and Flamethrower comes out taking it down. So that's first attempt. Now switching gears back over to Nidoqueen. Being a female is definitely worse because I actually need to take down the Roselia, otherwise it will use Attract on me, so I take it down first. But that leaves me open to being confused by Farfetch'd using Shadow Panic. Luckily it's not got very good accuracy, so it misses. Body Slam's able to take down Farfetch'd. Altaria wastes a turn by lowering my evasiveness. I do about half to it. And one more Body Slam takes it down, and I beat Loverina first attempt. Okay, well at the top of the mountain, I run into Snaddle again. Earthquake, Earthquake. Out comes Scizor and Solrock. And one thing to note here is that because I'm running a different set without Double Kick, I'm not actually able to two-shot the Solrock. Whoops. Anyway, it shouldn't be that big of a deal though. I have higher defenses, so I should be able to shrug off any attack it does. So, I use Body Slam into it this turn, just to hope for paralysis, don't get it. And yeah, it's doing almost nothing to me. A few more Fruity Pebbles. I go for Protect another turn. And after this turn, I believe the Fruity Pebble should go away, so I go for Flamethrower here, take down the Solrock, and then out comes Cast Form. Steel Wing, still not doing too much. Fruity Pebbles go away, I go for Protect here, get a little bit more health back. And I go for Earthquake, which should one-shot both. And then out comes the Starmie, which could still be a threat, because I might not be able to one-shot it, so I go for a bit of healing, and then I go for Earthquake, and one-shot it anyway. Okay, well, first attempt there. Now we move on to Ardos. And Nidoking needed a little bit of help here, with the Shadow Halves doing a lot of the heavy lifting. But I think Nidoqueen will do pretty good here. I go for Protect, and I get a Shadow Half anyway. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure that guarantees that the Kingdra goes down. So I go for Earthquake here, take it down. And then out comes the Heracross. And on this turn, I'm going to actually take down the Swellow because I don't want it to Shadow Half me later on down the line. Out comes Electabuzz. And Rock Tomb actually misses, so that's nice. I'm not going to be a little bit slower. Earthquake one-shots the Electabuzz, and doesn't quite one-shot the Heracross, but that's expected. Rock Tomb again, but now it doesn't matter. And I go for another Earthquake to take down the... Oh, I get a crit on the Snorlax! Okay, well that was easier. Okay, another first try. And yeah, he leaves with a Slowking and an Ursaring this time. I'm not actually able to take down the Slowking in a single Body Slam, but Earthquake should take it down, and the Ursaring. And out comes Aggron and Walrein. Now Walrein might actually survive, but I decided to go for Flamethrower because it's neutral, and actually that doesn't really do anything, actually. Probably because of Thick Fat ability. Anyway, Earthquake takes down both. And out comes Poliwrath, his first Shadow Pokemon. And Mr. Mime, his second Shadow Pokemon. And Earthquake takes down the Mr. Mime, but not quite the Poliwrath. Shadow Sky comes out, but it's all in vain. So I use Body Slam and take down the Poliwrath. And with that, I beat Gorgon first attempt. Now I decide to do the same. I go ahead and teach Ice Beam over Body Slam at this point, and we move into Ardos. Now the Ninjask is actually going to be spamming Dig this time, which I think is better because it's going to be missing a lot of turns. I go for Protect here. Shadow Rush comes out, I go for Ice Beam, and the Ninjask is actually going to Protect after every Dig, so I'm going to get a lot of wasted turns. Unless it doesn't. Huh. Okay, well anyway, one shot on both Flygon and Salamence. Out comes Marowak. I go for an Ice Beam on Marowak. And take it down a single hit, that's good. Out comes Lapras. And this time I don't make the mistake of protecting. I go for Earthquake, doing half. Shadow Sky comes out, doing a little bit of damage. And one more Earthquake takes down the Lapras. And then a Flamethrower or an Ice Beam should be able to take down the Ninjask. I choose Ice Beam. And I beat Ardos first attempt. Okay, with that, we now move on to the big boss box legendary, Shadowlugia. And I thought this looked kind of cool. I wanted to do something a little different this time, so I decided to actually pair them up over top each other. Anyway, they both complete the fight in 3 turns each, and I decided just to skip ahead a little bit because it's only 1 time speed. Anyway, on to the final fight. I'm going to start with Nidoking here. Earthquake takes down the Rhydon, and doesn't touch Moltres. Shadow Fire comes out, doing quite a bit of damage. I go for Protect this turn, heal up a little bit, and now to use Ice Beam to see how much it'll do, and it's not quite half. Okay, well that's a little unfortunate, but luckily I do have 6 rare candies, so I come back into this fight, and had to protect the first turn because I forgot to heal. Anyway, Ice Beam is now doing over half to Moltres, so that's good. Shadow End misses. I go for Protect this turn just to heal up a bit. Ice Beam takes down the Moltres, and then out comes Executor. And this thing will probably just be using Shadow End the entire time. Never mind, it goes for Shadow Hold. Okay, well that's good. It means that it's not really as big a threat, but I decided to take it down anyway. And that's because I can use Earthquake to take down the Rhydon, and maybe the Tauros? Okay, not quite. But the Tauros is definitely not that big of a threat because it's going to set up Shadow Sky. And then the next turn is going to set up Shadow Hold. So I can stall out a couple turns of it not attacking and wait out the sky a little bit. Flamethrower is actually doing quite a bit to Articuno, but not quite a one-shot, unfortunately. Shadow Chill does quite a lot of damage. But I think I'm still in a safe position. Okay, I go for Flamethrower again to take down the Articuno. I get a crit, which I would have preferred for Zapdos, but that's alright. Shadow Rush does a little bit of damage to me. I go for Ice Beam, and it one-shots Zapdos. And because the Shadow Sky ended, Tauros wants to set it up again, and I use Earthquake to take it down. So Nidoking beats it second try. Let's see how Nidoqueen is doing. So this is the first attempt. I go for Ice Beam, which is doing not nearly as much damage as it needs to. And unfortunately, I'm not even able to take down a single Pokemon this time, because on the next turn, I'm going to try to take down the Moltres, and it's all going to be in vain because clearly I can't do enough damage, and Rhydon takes me down. Okay, well after using those 6 rare candies, I now go back into the fight, and I am doing basically exactly half to Moltres. So I'm not sure if that's a high roll, or a low roll, or if that's the average. So that's a little scary. The second Ice Beam is actually able to take it down, so that's good. Out comes Executor. And I'm going to protect this turn just to get up the little bit of health that I don't have. So now I'm at max health, I go for Earthquake, which one-shots the Rhydon, and does under half to Executor, but pretty close. Shadow End hits, so now I think a Earthquake should take it down. And it gets paralyzed on contact, so that's good. Maybe. I take down Executor, out comes Articuno. And I can do the same as I did with Nidoking, except I don't. And it honestly looks like that flamethrower did the same amount as Nidoking's did. Anyway, I decide to protect this turn because I realize that I did it out of order. But it doesn't really matter too much. I go for flamethrower to take down the Articuno. Now the Tauros is going to use Shadow Rush on me. But luckily, there's only one turn of Shadow Sky left. So I go for Protect this turn. And as long as the Ice Beam is a one-shot on Zapdos, I should be good. And it is. And Nidoqueen beats Greavol on the third attempt. Okay, I didn't show the second one because I got crit and frozen by the Articuno. But still, third attempt is pretty good. Anyway, with that, let's go ahead and go into the statistics of these Pokemon. So Nidoking beat the game at a time of 8 hours, 27 minutes, and 32 seconds at level 79, and only had 18 faints throughout the game. So that's pretty good. Nidoqueen, on the other hand, beat the game at 8 hours and 8 seconds at level 78, and only fainted 10 times. Now, I will say that at one point I may go back and re-rank Nidoking, because I definitely think it could do better than Nidoqueen. But at least in this race in particular, Nidoqueen takes it home, and is now the second fastest Pokemon I've ever done, right above Ursaring, where it basically outclasses Ursaring all around. And then Nidoking, unfortunately, because of my tunnel vision, is right behind Espeon, still in the S tier, because I think it belongs there, but just a little behind everyone there. And I would also like to say that Nidoqueen is just more consistent in the early game, because it gets Body Slam instead of Thrash, so I was actually able to do consistent good damage, whereas Thrash is always risky to throw out because I could be confused and just do no damage for several turns. Its only real problem in the early game were Ghost types, because it only had Poison Sting to do damage, and there were a couple fights where it was very close to losing. Whereas Nidoking actually had Peck. It's not great damage, but it's definitely better than Poison Sting, so it was able to actually get past those Ghost types. Anyway, with that being said, it's not going to change my results, this time anyway. And with that, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like it, subscribe maybe, and comment down a Pokemon suggestion below. Anyway, bye!